Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be doing a really quick portrait sketch. I'm going to be doing it all with a HB pencil, so that's exactly what you would have at home. I've chosen to do an image of Lady Gaga. This particular one I really like because there's lots of harsh contrasts on the face. Starting out by getting my pen, I'm using that to just outline any shadows that I can see. I find this really helpful because it gets your eye into the image nice and early. And because we're looking at proportions at the moment in school, I'm going to mark up from the corners of my eyes down past the edge of the nose and to the corners of the mouth. So I already had a really light sketch to begin with. I'm just going to go over a little bit for you now. When doing a light sketch, just kind of get those rough shapes, think roughly whereabouts is the head meant to go, and then we're going to start to fill it in. So far I'm pretty happy with roughly where I've got my nose and my mouth. I'm just putting in the shapes in there. With my guideline sketch, it was so light that we couldn't really see it. Remember, this is always the best way to go because you are just making guidelines to start off with. Those lines are not permanent. Don't worry. And now, using whatever facial mapping technique you like to use, start to sort of map out bits on the face. So I use my one where I kind of draw the circles and the basic shapes on the face. So you can see those large circles, which is probably the eyes are going to go in there somewhere. I like to think of them as like the sockets on a skull. So the eyes will be in there somewhere. Okay, anything that I'm sort of happy with now, I'm just darkening up a little bit. So those lines, to begin with, they weren't permanent, but we're going to start to make them a little bit more permanent now. Okay, so I've drawn a line across the middle for the eyes, just so I can keep them nice and level. And within my large eye sockets, I'm now drawing smaller circles, which is going to be the actual eye, the eyelid, and the under eye part. So those smaller circles, you want to keep them about the same size, because that way you're going to get your eyes roughly the same shape, and the tops of the circles being the tops of the eyelids, and then underneath kind of being that eye bag area. So I'm still altering the shape of my face. There's no problem in doing this. I've just kind of taken a little bit of width off the side on the right there, I guess the right that you can see, because no lines are necessarily permanent. I can keep altering it without the need for a rubber at this point. In fact, it's probably best to avoid rubbing out as much as you can and just rely on the lightness of your lines. So I'm getting my pen back out again. I'm using this just to highlight any shapes that I might have missed, any shadows I want to pay particular attention to. And it gives you a really good chance to kind of look at your image again and really get your eye in. So I think that was the only bit of rubbing out that I really wanted to do with this image, because I felt that the corners of the mouth were a little bit too upturned. So now I'm kind of always going over shapes I'm happy with. You can start adding a little bit more pressure. So this is what we call weight of line, and if you can control your weight of line, that is how hard you press. That's going to really, really help you out when it comes to any sort of sketching. Start off light, and then we start to go a little bit darker once we're happy with those lines. And that kind of removes the need to do lots of rubbing out, because the lighter lines almost get rubbed out by the fact that the darker lines are so much darker in contrast. So that means you can't even see the light lines anymore. It's like they don't exist, they are not important. Okay, so I'm getting quite happy with the facial features. I feel like it's all roughly in the right place. I've marked out some of my shadows, and I'm going to do a little bit of hair. I really dislike doing hair, but I find the best way to do it is just do long flowing lines. So that is lines where you keep your pencil on the page, and nice long flowing lines. Think about drawing the whole length of the hair from the very top of the scalp all the way down. Okay, and hairline was a bit too high, so just dropped it a little bit lower. You put in some little sprouting lines, and it really helps give the impression of the hair growing out of the head, and kind of gives the hair a bit of direction. And also it helps with the hairline, because hairlines aren't exactly straight. Okay, I've marked out a couple more shadows and I think that's done. We are ready to start shading, which I will do in the next video.